Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The concept of force. Equilibrium is the condition under which the net force, vector mass of all forces, acting on an object is zero. An object in equilibrium has a zero acceleration. Velocity is constant or equals zero. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Fundamental forces in nature are 1. Gravitational attraction forces between objects due to their masses. 2. Electromagnetic forces between electric charges at rest or in motion. 3. Strong nuclear forces between subatomic particles. And 4. Weak nuclear forces accompanying the process of radioactive decay. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:50 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Classical physics is concerned with constant forces, which are the result of physical contact between two or more objects. An action of distant forces which act through empty space and do not involve physical contact. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:52 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's first law in inertial frames. Newton's first law is called the law of inertia and states that an object at rest will remain at rest and an object in motion will remain in motion with a constant velocity unless acted on by a net external force. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Inertial mass and weight are two different physical quantities. The weight of a body is equal to the force of gravity acting on the body and varies with location in Earth's gravitational field. Mass is an inherent property of a body and is measurable of a body inertia. Resistance to change in its state of motion. The SI unit of mass is a hologram and the unit of weight is the Newton. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:54 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's second law. Newton's second law, the law of acceleration, states the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the net force acting on it and inversely proportional to its mass. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's third law. Newton's third law, the law of action-reaction, states that when two bodies interact, the force which body A exerts on body B, the action force, is equal in magnitude and opposite in direction to the force which body B exerts on body A. The reaction force, the consequence of a third law, is that forces occur in pairs. Remember that the action force and the reaction force act on different objects. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:56 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Some applications of Newton laws. Construction of free body diagram is an important step in the application of Newton's law of motion, the solution of problems involving bodies in equilibrium or accelerating under the action of external forces. The diagram should include an arrow label to identify each of the external forces acting on the body whose motion or condition of equilibrium is to be studied. Forces which are the reactions to these external forces must not be included. When a system consists of more than one body or mass, you must construct a free body diagram for each mass. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:57 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. If a force acting on a mass m1 produces an acceleration a1, and the same force acting on a mass m2 produces an acceleration a2, the ratio of the two masses is the reciprocal of the ratio of the accelerations. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 1:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. If a mass m is in a location where the acceleration of gravity is g, the weight of the body will be determined by the mass and the acceleration due to gravity at the specific location. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's second law of motion states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the result force acting on it and inversely proportional to its mass. F equals ma. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's third law, sometimes called the law of action-reaction, says that the force exerted by body 1 on body 2 is equal and opposite the force exerted by body 2 on body 1. F12 equals minus F21. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The force of static friction between any two surfaces in contact depends on the normal force and the coefficient of static friction. The equality sign in equal 5.9 applies when the object is on the verge of slipping. F sub s greater underscore u sub s n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The force of kinetic friction between an object and the surface it slides on opposes the motion and has a magnitude which is usually less than the force of static friction. F sub k equals u sub k n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Work done by a constant force. Work done by a constant force is defined as the product of the component of the force and the direction of the displacement and magnitude of the displacement. Unit of work in SI system is a Newton meter. N times M, 1 Newton meter equals 1 joule. N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Scalar product of two vectors. The scalar product or dot product of any two vectors is a scalar quantity equal to the product of the magnitude of two vectors and the cosine of the angle included between the directions of the two vectors. N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Work done by a varying force. Work done by a varying force is equal to the area under the force displacement curve. N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Work in kinetic energy. The work done by a force F in displacing a particle equals the change in the kinetic energy of the particle. This is known as the work energy theorem. N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Power. Power is the time rate of doing work or expending energy. The SI unit of power is the watt, W. 1 W equals 1 J divided by S. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. It is convenient to express the work done by a constant force as a dot product, scalar product, F times S. W equals F times S equals Fs cos N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The dot product of any two vectors A and B is defined to be a scalar quantity whose magnitude is AB cos. A times B equals AB cos N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 2:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The work done by the force of sliding friction F is always negative since F opposes the displacement. W sub F equals minus Fs N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. If a force acting along X varies with position, and the body is displaced from X sub I to X sub F, the work done by that force is given by an integral expression. Graphically, the work done equals the area under F sub X versus X curve N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. If a mass is connected to a spring of force constant K, the work done by the spring force minus Kx as the mass moves from X sub I to X sub F is given by N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The kinetic energy K of a particle of mass m moving with a speed v is defined to be 1/2 mv to the power of 2. K 1/2 mv2. N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The work energy theorem states that the work done by the resultant force on the body equals a change in kinetic energy of the body. W equals K sub F minus K sub I equals delta K N. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:11 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Linear momentum and impulse. The time rate of change of the momentum of a particle is equal to the resultant force on the particle. The impulse of a force equals the change in momentum of the particle on which the force acts. Under impulse approximation, it is assumed that one of the forces acting on the particle is the short time duration, but of much greater magnitude than any of the other forces. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Conservation of linear momentum for a two-particle system. If two particles of masses m1 and m2 form an isolated system, then the total momentum of the system remains constant. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:13 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Collisions. For any type of collision, the total momentum before the collision equals the total momentum just after the collision. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:13 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. For any type of collision, the total momentum before the collision equals the total momentum just after the collision. In an inelastic collision, the total momentum is conserved. However, the total kinetic energy is not conserved. In a perfectly inelastic collision, the two colliding objects stick together following the collision. In an elastic collision, both momentum and kinetic energy are conserved. And Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:14 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Two-dimensional collisions. The law of conservation of momentum is not restricted to one-dimensional collision. If two masses undergo a two-dimensional glancing collision, and there are no external forces acting, the total momentum in each of the x, y, and z directions is conserved. And good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Motion of a system of particles. The center of mass of a system of particles moves like an imaginary particle of mass, m, equal to the total mass of the system, under the influence of the resultant external force on the system, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The linear momentum p of a particle is defined as the product of its mass m with a velocity v, p equals mv, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The impulse of a force, F acting on a particle equals the change in momentum of the particle. I equals delta P equals TF over TI F dt, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:21 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. To calculate impulse, we usually define time average force F, which would give the same impulse to the particle as the actual time varying force over time interval delta t. F equals 1 over delta t over TF over TI F dt, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:22 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Any impulse approximation of force F appearing in acts for a short time and is much larger than any other force present. This approximation is usually assumed in problems involving collisions, where the force is the contact force between the particles during the collision, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:23 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. When two particles interact with each other, but are otherwise isolated from their surroundings, Newton's third law tells us that the force of particle 1 on particle 2 is equal and opposite to the force of particle 2 on a particle 1. Since force is the time rate of a change of momentum, Newton's second law, one finds that the total momentum is the isolated pair of particles is conserved. P1 plus P2 equals constant, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:24 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In general, when the external force acting on a system of particles is zero, the total linear momentum of the system is conserved. The important statement is known as the law of conservation of momentum. It is especially useful in treating problems involving collisions between two bodies. P1i plus P2i equals P1f plus P2f, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. There are two kinds of collisions that can occur between two bodies. An elastic collision is one in which both linear momentum and kinetic energy are conserved. An inelastic collision is one in which only linear momentum is conserved. A perfectly inelastic collision is an inelastic collision in which the two bodies stick together after the collision. Note that momentum is conserved in any type of collision. Furthermore, note that when we say that the momentum is conserved, we are speaking about the momentum of the entire system. That is, the momentum of each particle may change as a result of the collision, but the momentum of the system remains unchanged, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:26 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. P1 plus P2 equals constant. K1 plus K2 equals constant. Elastic, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:26 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. P1 plus P2 equals constant. Inelastic, n. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:27 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The x-coordinate of the center of mass of the n particle whose individual coordinates are x1, x2, and x3, and whose masses are m1, m2, and m3, is given by the y and z coordinates of the center of mass are defined by similar expressions. xc over infinity mi xi divided by infinity mi, and good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:28 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick now. The x-coordinate of the center of mass of a rigid body of mass m can be calculated by dividing the body into elements of mass dm. The y and z coordinates in the center of mass are given by similar expressions. xc equals 1 over m and xdmn. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:29 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick now. The velocity of the center of mass of a system of particles is given by where a vi is the velocity of the ith particle and m is the total mass of the system. Vc equals infinity MIVI divided by MN. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The total momentum of a system of particles is equal to the product of the total mass, m, with the velocity of the center of mass, p equals mvcn. Good afternoon, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:31 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The acceleration to the center of mass of a system of particles is given. AC equals infinity MIAI divided by M equals N. Good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:32 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Newton's second law applied to a system of particles says that the resultant external force acting on the system equals the time rate of change of the total momentum. Infinity Fext equals dp divided by dt equals macn. Good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 3:33 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The principle behind the operation of a rocket is the law of conservation of momentum as applied to the rocket and its ejected fuel. If a rocket moves in the absence of gravity and ejected fuel with an exhaust velocity v sub e, its change in velocity is given by where mi and mf refer to its initial and final masses. Delta v equals vf minus vi equals v sub e in in bracket mi divided by mf n. Good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 4:46 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Do bacteria age? Biologists discover the answer follows simple economics. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. When a bacterial cell divides into 2 daughter cells, and those 2 cells divide into 4 more daughters, and then 8, then 16, and so on, the result biologists have long assumed is an eternally youthful population of bacteria. Bacteria, in other words, don't age, at least not in the same way all organisms do. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 4:51 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. For a study conducted by evolutionary biologists at the University of California, San Diego questions that long-standing paradigm. In the paper published in November 8 issue of the Journal of Current Biology, they conclude that not only do bacteria age, but that their ability to age allows bacteria to improve the evolutionary fitness of their population by diversifying their reproductive investment between older and more youthful daughters. An advanced copy of the study appears this week in the Journal of Early Online Edition. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 4:54 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Aging in organisms is often caused by the accumulation of non-genetic damage, such as proteins that become oxidized over time. A professor of biology at UC San Diego who headed the study. So for a single-celled organism that has acquired damage that cannot be repaired, which of the 2 alternatives is better? To split the cellular damage in equal amounts between the 2 daughters, or to give one daughter all the damage and the other none? And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 4:58 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. We analyzed the data from both papers with our computer models and discovered that they were really demonstrating the same thing. In the bacterial population, aging and rejuvenation goes on simultaneously. So depending on how you measure it, you can be misled to believe that there is no aging. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:01 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In a separate study, the UC San Diego biologists filmed population E. coli bacteria dividing over hundreds of generations and confirmed that the sausage-shaped bacteria divided each time into daughter cells that grew elongated at different rates, suggesting that one daughter cell was getting all or most of the cellular damage from its mother, while the other was getting little or none. Click this link to watch the time-lapse film of the one bacteria dividing over 10 generations into 1,000 bacteria in a period of 5 hours, and see if you can see any difference. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:02 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. We ran computer models and found that giving one daughter more than damage and the other less always wins from an evolutionary perspective. It is analogous to diversifying your portfolio. If you could invest $1 million at 8%, would that provide you with more money than splitting the money and investing $500,000 at 6% and $500,000 at 10%? And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:03 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. After 1 year, it makes no difference. But after 2 years, splitting the money into 2 accounts earns you more and more money because of the compounding effect of the 10%. It turns out that bacteria do the same thing. They give one daughter a fresh start, which is the higher interest-bearing account, and the other daughter gets more of the damage. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:04 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Although E. coli bacteria appears to divide precisely down the middle into two daughter cells, the discovery that the two daughters eventually grow to different lengths suggests that bacteria do not divide as symmetrically as most biologists have come to believe, but that their division is really asymmetrical within the cell. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:07 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. There must be an active transport system within the bacteria cell that puts the non-genetic damage into one of the daughter cells. We think evolution drove the asymmetry. If bacteria were symmetrical, there would be no aging. But because you have this asymmetry, one daughter, by having more damage, has aged, while the other daughter gets a rejuvenated start with less damage. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:10 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Astronomers pinned down galaxy collision rate with Hubble data. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. A new analysis of Hubble surveys combined with simulations of galaxy interactions reveal that the merger rate of galaxies over the last 8 billion to 9 billion years falls between the previous estimates. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The galaxy merger rate is one of the fundamental measures of galaxy evolution, yielding clues to how galaxies bulked up over time through encounters with other galaxies. And yet a huge discrepancy exists over how often galaxies coalesced. In the past, measurements of galaxies in deep field surveys made by NASA Hubble Space Telescope generated a broad range of results. Anywhere from 5% to 25% of the galaxies were merging. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:14 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Galaxies gain quite a bit of mass through collisions with other galaxies. Large galaxies merge with each other on average once over the past 9 billion years. Small galaxies were coalescing with large galaxies more frequently. In one of the first measurements of smash-ups between dwarf and massive galaxies in the distant universe, found these mergers happen 3 times more often than encounters between two hefty galaxies. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:14 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Having an accurate value for the merger rate is critical because galactic collisions may be a key process that drives galaxy assembly. Rapid star formation at early times, and the accretion of gas onto central supermassive black holes at the center of galaxies. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:16 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. It's a little bit like trying to count car crashes by taking snapshots. If you look for cars on a collision course, you will only see a few of them. If you count up the number of wrecked cars you see afterwards, you will see many more. Studies that looked for close pairs of galaxies that appeared ready to collide gave much lower numbers of mergers than those that searched for galaxies with disturbed shapes, evidence that they are in smash-ups. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, it's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:21 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Dwarf galaxies are the most common galaxy in the universe. They may have contributed to the buildup of large galaxies. In fact, our own Milky Way galaxy had several such mergers with small galaxies in its recent past, which helped to build up the outer regions of its halo. The study provides the first quantitative understanding of how the number of galaxies disturbed by these minor mergers changed with time. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:25 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Scientists measure dream content for the first time. Dreams activate the brain in a similar way to reveal actions. Science Daily, October 28, 2011. The ability to dream is a fascinating aspect of the human mind. However, how the images and emotions that we experience so intensively when we dream form in our heads remains a mystery. Up to now, it has not been possible to measure dream content. Max Planck scientists working with colleagues from the Berlin have now succeeded for the first time in analyzing the activity of the brain during dreaming. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:26 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. They were able to do this with the help of lucid dreamers, people who become aware of their dreaming state and are able to alter the content of their dreams. The scientists measured that The brain activity during the dream motion matched the one observed during a real executed movement in a state of wakefulness. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, the Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Methods like functional magnetic resonance imaging have enabled scientists to visualize and identify the precise spatial location of brain activity during sleep. However, up to now, researchers have not been able to analyze specific brain activity associated with dream content, as measured brain activity can only be traced back to a specific dream if the precise temporal coincidence of the dream content and measurement is known. Whether a person is dreaming is something that could only be reported by the individual himself. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The brain activity measured from this time onwards corresponds with the arranged dream involving the fist clenching, a region in the sensor motor cortex of the brain, which is responsible for the execution of movements, was actually activated during the dream. This is directly comparable with the brain activity that arises when the hand is moved while the person is awake. Even if the lucid dreamer just imagines the hand movement while awake, the sensor motor cortex reacts in a similar way. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:38 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The coincidence of the brain activity measured during dreaming and the conscious action shows that dream content can be measured. With this combination of sleep EEGs, imaging methods, and lucid dreamers, we can measure not only simple movements during sleep, but also the activity pattern in the brain during visual dream perceptions. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 5:40 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The researchers were able to confirm the data obtained using MR imaging in another subject using a different technology. With the help of near-infrared spectroscopy, they also observed increased activity in a region of the brain that plays an important role in the planning of movements. Our dreams are therefore not a sleep cinema, in which we merely observe an event passively, but involve activity in the regions of the brain that are relevant to dream content. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Printed protection low-cost paper-based wireless sensor could help detect explosive devices. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. Researchers at the Georgia Institute of Technology have developed a prototype wireless sensor capable of detecting trace amounts of key ingredient found in many explosives. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:16 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The device, which employs carbon nanotubes and is printed on paper or paper-like material using standard inkjet technology, could be deployed in large numbers to alert authorities to the presence of explosives such as improvised explosive devices, IEDs. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:17 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. This prototype represents a significant step toward producing an integrated wireless system for explosive detection. It incorporates a sensor and a communications device in a small, low-cost package that could operate almost anywhere. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:18 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Other types of hazardous gas sensors are based on expensive semiconductor fabrication and gas chromatography, and they consume more power, require human intervention, and typically do not operate at ambient temperatures. Furthermore, those sensors have not been integrated with communication devices such as antennas. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The wireless component for communicating the sensor information, a resonant lightweight antenna, was printed on photographic paper using inkjet techniques. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The sensing component based on functionalized carbon nanotubes, CNTs, has been fabricated and tested for detection sensitivity. The device relies on carbon nanotube materials optimized by song. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:23 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. This is not the first inkjet printed ammonia sensor that has been integrated with an antenna on paper. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The fundamental difference is that this newest CNT sensor possesses dramatically improved sensitivity to many-scale ammonia concentrations. That should enable the first practical applications to detect trace amounts of hazardous gases in challenging operational environments using inkjet printed devices. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Circuits and antennas lies in novel inks that contain silver nanoparticles in an emulsion that can be deposited by the printer at low temperatures, around 100 degrees Celsius. A process called sonication helps to achieve optimal ink viscosity and homogeneity, enabling uniform material deposition. and permitting maximum operation effectiveness for paper-based components. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:38 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Inkjet printing is low cost and convenient compared to other technologies, such as wet etching. Using the proper inks, a printer can be used almost anywhere to produce custom circuits and components, replacing traditional clean room approaches. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:40 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Low-cost materials such as heavy photographic paper or plastics like polyethylene or terephthalate can be made water-resistant to ensure greater reliability. Inkjet component printing can also use flexible organic materials such as liquid crystal polymer (LCP), which are known for their robustness and weather resistance. The resulting components are similar in size to conventional components but can conform and adhere to almost any surface. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:41 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Inkjet techniques used to produce RF components, circuits, and antennas can also be used to deposit the functionalized carbon nanotubes used for sensing. These nanoscale cylindrical structures, about 1/billionth of a meter in diameter, or 1/150,000th of width of a human hair, are functionalized by coating them with a conductive polymer that attracts ammonia, a major ingredient found in many IEDs. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Sonication of a functionalized carbon nanotubes produces a uniform water-based ink that can be printed side by side with RF components and antennas to produce a compact wireless sensor node. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The optimized carbon nanotubes are applied as a sensing film with specific functionalization designed for a particular gas or analyte. The GTRI sensor detects trace amounts of ammonia usually found near explosive devices, and it can also be designed to detect similar gases in household, healthcare, and industrial environments at very low concentration levels. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:46 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The sensor has been designed to detect ammonia in trace amounts as low as 5 parts per million. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:48 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The resulting integrated sensing package could potentially detect the presence of trace explosive materials at a distance without endangering human lives. The approach, called standoff detection, involves the use of RF technology to identify explosive materials at a relatively safe distance. The GTRI team has designed the device to send an alert to nearby personnel when it detects ammonia. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:54 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The wireless sensor nodes require relatively low power, which could come from a number of technologies, including thin film batteries, solar cells, or power scavenging and energy harvesting techniques. GTRI is investigating ways to make the sensor operate passively without any power consumption. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. We are focusing on providing standoff detection for those engaged in military or humanitarian missions and other hazardous situations. We believe that it will be possible and cost-effective to deploy large numbers of these detectors on vehicles or robots throughout a military engagement zone. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Angular velocity and angular acceleration. Pure rotational motion refers to the motion of a rigid body about a fixed axis. 1 radian, rad, is an angle subtended by an arc length equal to the radius of the arc. In the case of rotation about a fixed axis, every particle on a rigid body has the same angular velocity and the same angular acceleration. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Rotational kinematics, rotational motion with constant angular acceleration. The kinematic expression for rotational motion under constant angular acceleration are of the same form as those for linear motion under constant linear acceleration, with the substitutions x, 0, v, and w, and e, a, and alpha. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:25 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Torque is a physical quantity which is a measure of the tendency of a force to cause rotation of a body about a specified axis. It is important to remember that torque must be defined with respect to a specific axis of rotation. Torque, which has the SI units of N multiplied by M, must not be confused with force. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:26 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Work and energy in rotational motion. The work energy theorem in rotational motion states that the net work done by external forces in rotating a symmetric rigid body about a fixed axis equals the change in the body rotational kinetic energy. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the average angular velocity, repeated W, of a particle of a body rotating about a fixed axis equals the ratio of the angular displacement delta degree to the time interval at delta t, where degree is measured in radians. Repeated W with delta degree over delta t. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:28 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the instantaneous angular velocity W is defined as the limit of the average angular velocity as delta t approaches zero. W equals d degrees over dt. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:29 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the average angular acceleration alpha repeated of a rotating body is defined as the ratio of the change in angular velocity to the time interval delta t. Alpha repeated is delta w over delta t. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: instantaneous angular acceleration equals the limit of the average angular acceleration as delta t approaches zero. Alpha equals dw over dt. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: if a particle of body rotates about a fixed axis with constant angular acceleration, we can apply the equations of rotational kinematics. W equals w degree plus alpha multiplied by t. Degree equals degree sub 0 plus w sub 0 t plus 1/2 alpha multiplied by t to the power of 2, and w to the power of 2 equals w sub 0 to the power of 2 plus 2 alpha, and in bracket degree minus degree sub 0. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:34 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: if a rigid body rotates about a fixed axis, the linear velocity of any point on the body at distance r from the axis of rotation is related to the angular velocity through the relation v equals rw. Similarly, the tangential acceleration of any point on the body is related to the angular acceleration through the rotation a sub t equals r alpha. Note that every point on the body has the same w and alpha, but not every point has the same v and alpha sub t. V equals rw and alpha sub t equals r alpha. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the moment of inertia, a system of particles, is defined where m sub I is the mass of the ith particle, as r sub I is its distance from the specified axis. Note that I has its SI units of kg multiplied by m to the power of 2. I equals infinity, m sub I, r sub I to the power of 2. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the moment of inertia of a rigid body is given by an integral expression where the body is divided into elements of a mass dm, and r is the distance from that element to the axis of rotation. I equals r to the power of 2 dm. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the kinetic energy of a rigid body rotating with an angular velocity w about some axis can be expressed in a form. Note that it does not represent a new form of energy. It is simply a convenient form from representing rotational kinetic energy. K equals 1/2 I w to the power of 2. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:40 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the torque T due to an applied force has a magnitude given by the product of the force and its moment arm d, where d equals a perpendicular distance from the rotation axis to the line of action of F. Torque is a measure of the ability of a force to rotate a body about a specified axis. Note that the torque depends on the axis of rotation, which must be specified when t is evaluated. T equals Fd. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:49 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note: the net torque acting on a rigid body about some axis is equal to the product of the moment of inertia and angular acceleration, where I is the moment of inertia about the axis of rotation. This is only true for a plane laminar body or for the case when the axis of rotation is the principal axis. T subnet equals I alpha. And Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. If a net torque T acts on a rigid body, the power supplied to the body at the instant its angular velocity is W is given P equals TWN. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD, Saturday, October 29, 2011, 9:51 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The work energy theorem says that the net work done by external forces in rotating a rigid body about a fixed axis equals the change in the body's rotational kinetic energy. W equals 1/2 IW to the power of 2 minus 1/2 IW sub 0 to the power of 2N. Good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:44 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Human brains are made of the same stuff, despite DNA differences. Science Daily, October 26, 2011. Despite vast differences in genetic code across individuals and ethnicities, the human brain shows a consistent molecular architecture. The finding is from a pair of studies that have created databases revealing when and where genes turn on and off in multiple brain regions through development. And good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Our study shows how 650,000 common genetic variations that make each of us a unique person may influence the ebb and flow of 24,000 genes in the most distinctly human part of our brain as we grow and age. And good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:47 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Both studies measured messenger RNAs, or transcripts. These intermediate products carry the messenger from DNA, the genetic blueprint, to create proteins in differentiated brain tissue. Each gene can make several transcripts, which are expressed in patterns influenced by a subset of approximately 1.5 million DNA variations unique to each of us. The unique set of transcripts is called our transcriptome, a molecular signature that is unique to every individual. The transcriptome is a measure of the diverse functional potential that exists in the brain. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:49 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Both studies found that rapid gene expression during fetal development abruptly switches to much slower rates after birth that gradually decline and eventually level off in middle age. These rates surge again as the brain ages in the last decades, mirroring rates seen in childhood and adolescence. According to one of the studies, the database holds secrets to how the brain's ever-changing messenger chemical system cells and development processes are related to gene expression patterns through development. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:51 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. For example, if a particular version of a gene is implicated in a disorder, the new resource might reveal how that variation affects the gene's expression over time and by brain region. By identifying even distant genes that may be turning on and off in sync, the databases may help researchers discover whole modules of genes involved in the illness. They can also reveal how variation in one gene influences another's expression. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:54 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Prefrontal cortex. Kleinman's team focused on how genetic variations are linked to the expression of transcripts in the brain's prefrontal cortex, the area that controls insight, planning, and judgment across the lifespan. They studied 269 post-mortem healthy human brains ranging in age from 2 weeks after conception to 80 years old, using 49,000 genetic probes. The databases on prefrontal cortex gene expression alone totals more than 1 trillion pieces of information according to the Kleinman. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:55 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Among key findings in the prefrontal cortex, individual genetic variations are profoundly linked to expression patterns. The most similarity across individuals is detected early in development, and again as we approach the end of life. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:57 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Different types of related genes are expressed during prenatal development, infancy, and childhood, so that each of these stages shows a relatively distinct transcriptional identity. 3/4 of genes reverse their direction of expression after birth, with most switching from on to off. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:58 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Expression of genes involved in cell division declines prenatally in infancy, while expression of genes important for making synapses or connections between brain cells increases. In contrast, genes required for neuronal projections decline after birth, likely as unused connections are pruned. And Good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 6:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. By the time we reach our 50s, overall gene expression begins to increase, mirroring the sharp reversal of fetal expression changes that occur in infancy. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Genetic variation in the genome as a whole showed no effect on variation in the transcriptome as a whole, despite how genetically distinct individuals might be. Hence, human cortexes have a consistent molecular architecture despite our diversity. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In previous studies, Kleiman and his colleagues have found that all genetic variations implicated to date in schizophrenia are associated with transcripts that are preferentially expressed in the fetal brain. This adds to evidence that the disorder originates in prenatal development. By contrast, he and his colleagues are examining evidence that genetic variation implicated in affective disorders may be associated with transcripts expressed later in life. They are also extending their database to include all transcripts of all the genes in the human genome, examining 1,000 post-mortem brains, including many of people who had schizophrenia or other brain disorders. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:08 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Multiple brain regions. Seaston and colleagues characterized gene expression in 16 brain regions, including 11 areas of the neocortex from both hemispheres of 57 human brains that span from 40 days post-conception to 82 years, analyzing the transcriptomes of 1,340 samples. Using 1.4 million probes, the researchers measured the expression of exons, which combine to form a gene-protein product. This allowed them to pinpoint changes in these combinations that make up a protein, as well as to chart the gene's overall expression. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Among key findings, overall 90% of genes expressed in the brain are differentially regulated across brain regions and or over developmental time periods. There are also widespread differences across region and time periods in the combination of a gene exons that are expressed. And good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Timing and location are far more influential in regulating gene expression than gender, ethnicity, or individual variation. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:11 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Among 29 modules of co-expressed genes identified, each had distinct expression patterns and represented different biological processes. Genetic variation in some of the most well-connected genes in these modules, called hub genes, has previously been linked to mental disorders including schizophrenia and depression. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:12 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Telltale similarities in expression profiles with genes previously implicated in schizophrenia and autism are providing leads to discovery of other genes potentially involved in those disorders. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 7:14 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Sex differences in the risk for certain mental disorders may be traceable to transcriptional mechanisms. More than 3/4 of 159 genes expressed differentially between the sexes were male biased. Most prenatally, some genes found to have such sex-biased expression had previously been associated with disorders that affect males more than females, such as schizophrenia, Williams syndrome, and autism. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:39 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Astronomers discover complex organic matter exists throughout the universe. Science Daily, October 26, 2011. Astronomers report in the Journal of Nature that organic compounds of unexpected complexity exist throughout the universe. The results suggest that complex organic compounds are not the sole domain of life, but can be made naturally by stars. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Organic substance commonly found throughout the universe contains a mixture of aromatic ring-like and aliphatic chain-like components. The compounds are so complex that their chemical structures resemble those of coal and petroleum. Since coal and oil are remnants of ancient life, this type of organic matter was thought to arise only from living organisms. The team's discovery suggests that complex organic compounds can be synthesized in space even when no life forms are present. And Good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The researchers investigated an unsolved phenomenon, a set of infrared emissions detected in stars, interstellar space and galaxies. These spectral signatures are known as unidentified infrared emission features. For over 2 decades, the most commonly accepted theory on the origin of these signatures has been that they came from simple organic molecules made of carbon and hydrogen atoms, called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon PAH molecules, from observations taken by the Infrared Space Observatory and the Spicer Space Telescope, showed that the astronomical spectra have features that cannot be explained by PAH molecules. Instead, the team proposes that the substances generating these infrared emissions have chemical structures that are much more complex. By analyzing spectra of stardust formed in exploding stars called novae, they show that stars are making these complex organic compounds in extremely short time scales of weeks. Good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:44 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Not only are stars producing this complex organic matter, they are also ejecting it into the general interstellar space, the region between stars. The work supports an earlier idea proposed by Koch that old stars are molecular factories capable of manufacturing organic compounds. Our work has shown that stars have no problem making complex organic compounds under near vacuum conditions. Koch theoretically is impossible, but observationally we can see it happening. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Most interestingly, this organic stardust is similar in structure to complex organic compounds found in meteorites. Since meteorites are remnants of the early solar system, the findings raise the possibility that stars enriched this early solar system with organic compounds. The early Earth was subjected to severe bombardments by comets and asteroids, which potentially could have carried organic stardust. Whether these delivered organic compounds played any role in the development of life on Earth remains an open question. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Natural intestinal flora involved in the emergence of multiple sclerosis study finds. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. Multiple sclerosis is caused by a combination of genetic and environmental factors. For a long time, pathogens were believed to be such external influences, according to the scientists from Max Planck Institute of Neurobiology. However, it is apparently not harmful bacteria that trigger multiple sclerosis, but beneficial ones specifically, the natural intestinal flora, which every human being needs for digestion. The researchers discovered that genetically modified mice develop an inflammation in the brain similar to the human disease if they have normal bacterial intestinal flora. The microorganisms begin by activating the immune system T cells, and in further step, the B immune cells. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The findings published in the Journal of Nature suggest that in humans with corresponding genetic predisposition, the essentially beneficial intestinal flora could act as a trigger for the development of multiple sclerosis. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:01 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The human intestine is a paradise for microorganisms. It is home to roughly 100 billion bacteria made up of from 2,000 different bacteria species. The microorganisms of the intestine are not only indispensable for digestion, but also for the intestine development. Altogether, the diverse community comprises between 10 and 100 times more genes than the entire human genome. Scientists therefore frequently refer to it as the extended self. However, the intestine bacteria can also play a role in disease in which the immune system attacks the body itself. Intestinal bacteria can thus promote autoimmune disorders such as Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. On the one hand, the likelihood of developing multiple sclerosis is a disease in which proteins on the surface of the myelin layer in the brain activate the immune system is influenced by genes. On the other hand, however, environmental factors have an even greater impact on the disease's development. Scientists have long suspected that it is caused by infectious agents. The Max Planck researchers now assume that multiple sclerosis is triggered by the natural intestinal flora. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. This astonishing finding was made possible by newly developed genetically modified mice, in the absence of exposure to any external influences. Inflammatory reactions arise in the brains of these animals which are similar to those associated with multiple sclerosis in humans. However, this only occurs when the mice have intact intestinal flora. Mice without microorganisms in their intestines and held in a sterile environment remain healthy. When the scientists vaccinated the animals raised in sterile conditions with normal intestinal microorganisms, they also became ill. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:06 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. According to the based researchers, the intestinal flora influence immune systems in the digestive tract. Mice without intestinal flora have fewer T cells there. Moreover, these animals' spleen produces fewer inflammatory substances like cytokines. In addition, their B cells produce few or no antibodies against myelin. When the researchers restored the intestinal flora in the mice, their T cells and B cells increased their cytokine and antibody production. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:07 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. It appears that the immune system is activated in two stages. To begin, T cells in the lymph vessel in the intestinal tract become active and proliferate, together with the surface proteins in the myelin layer. These then stimulate the B cells to form pathogenic antibodies. Both processes trigger inflammatory reactions in the brain, which progressively destroy the myelin layer. A process is very similar to the way multiple sclerosis develops in humans. Institute of Neurobiology, thus the disease is caused by changes in the immune system and not by disturbances in the functioning of the nervous system. Multiple sclerosis research has long been preoccupied with this question of cause and effect. Our findings would suggest that the immune system is the driving force here. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:09 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The scientists are certain that the intestinal flora can also trigger an overreaction of the immune system against the myelin layer in persons with a genetic predisposition for multiple sclerosis. Therefore, nutrition play a central role in disease. As diet largely determines the bacteria that colonize the intestines, changing eating habits could explain, for example, why the incidence of multiple sclerosis has increased in Asia countries in recent years. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:11 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Precisely which bacteria are involved in the emergence of multiple sclerosis remains unclear. Possible candidates are Clostridiums, which can have direct contact with the intestinal wall. They are also a natural component of healthy intestinal flora, but could possibly activate the T cells in persons with a genetic predisposition. The scientists would now like to analyze the entire microbial genome of patients with multiple sclerosis and thereby identify the differences in the intestinal flora of healthy people and multiple sclerosis patients. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:18 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. 3 new planets and a mystery object discovered outside our solar system. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. 3 planets, each orbiting its own giant dying star, have been discovered by an international team of research led by Penn State University of astronomer. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:19 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Using Hobby Eberly telescope, astronomers observed the planet's parent stars, called HD 240237, BD 48738, and HD 96127, tens of light years away from our solar system. One of the massive dying stars has an additionally mystery object orbiting it. According to the team, Evan, professor of astronomy and astrophysics, Penn State, who in 1992 became the first astronomer ever to discover planets outside our solar system. The new research is expected to shed light on the evolution of planetary systems around dying stars. It also will help astronomers to understand how metal content influences the behavior of dying stars. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:22 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The 3 newly discovered planetary systems are more evolved than our own solar system. Each of the 3 stars is swelling and has already become a red giant, a dying star that soon will gobble up any planet that happens to be orbiting too close to it. While we certainly can expect a similar fate for our sun, which eventually will become a red giant and possibly will consume our Earth, we won't have to worry about it happening for another 5 billion years. BD 48738 is accompanied not only by an enormous Jupiter-like planet, but also by a second mystery object. According to the team, this object could be another planet, a low-mass star, most interestingly a brown dwarf, which is a star-like body that is intermediate in mass between the coolest stars and giant planets. We will continue to watch this strange object, and in a few more years, we hope to be able to reveal its identity. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:23 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The three dying stars and their accompanying planets have been particularly useful to the research team because they have helped to eliminate such an ongoing mysteries as how dying stars behave depending on their metallicity. First, we know that giant stars like HD 240237, BD 48738, and HD 96127 are especially noisy. That is, they appear jittery because they oscillate much more than our own. Much younger sun, this noisiness disturbs the observation process, making it a challenge to discover any companion planets. Still, we persevered, and we eventually were able to spot the planets orbiting each massive star. And good evening, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Confirm that HD 240237, BD 48738, and HD 96127 did indeed have planets orbiting around them. They measured the metal content of the stars and found some interesting correlations. We found a negative correlation between the star's metallicity and its jitteriness. It turns out that the less metal content each star had, the more noisy and jittery it was. Our own sun vibrates slightly too, but because it is much younger, its atmosphere is much less turbulent. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:27 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. As stars swell to the red giant stage, planetary orbits change and even intersect and close, and planets and moons eventually get swallowed and sucked up by the dying star. For this reason, it is possible that HD 240237, BD 48738, and HD 96127 once might have had more planets in orbit, but that these planets were consumed over time. It is interesting to note that of these three newly discovered stars, none has a planet at a distance closer than 0.6 astronomical units, that is, 0.6 the distance of Earth to our Sun. It might be that 0.6 is the magic number at which any closer distance spells a planet's demise. And good evening, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Thursday, October 27, 2011, 9:35 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Observation of dying stars, their metal content, and how they affect the planets around them could provide clues about the fate of our solar system. Of course, in about 5 billion years, our sun will become a red giant and likely will swallow up the inner planets and the planets' accompanying moons. However, if we are still around in, say, 1 billion to 3 billion years, we might consider taking up residence on Jupiter's moon, Europa, for the remaining couple billion years before that happens. Europa is an icy wasteland, and it is certainly not habitable now. But as the sun continues to heat up and expand, our Earth will become too hot, while at the same time Europa will melt and may spend a couple billion years in the not hot to not old, covered by vast beautiful oceans. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:48 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Researchers complete the mollusk evolutionary tree. Science Daily, October 26, 2011. Mollusks have been around for so long, at least 500 million years, are so prevalent on land and in water, from backyard gardens to deep ocean, and are so valuable to people, clam chowder, oysters on the half shell, that one might assume scientists had learned everything about them. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:49 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Here's the big diverse group of animals, and we don't know how they were related to each other. An evolutionary biologist at Brown University who specialized in building evolutionary trees. Some branches were well known, but what we really lacked was a breadth of sampling. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:50 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In the paper, Nature researchers from Brown and collaborating institutions have pieced together the most comprehensive phylogeny evolutionary tree for mollusks. To perform that feat, the team collected hard-to-find specimens through a global sampling effort, including a group of organisms through until recently to be extinct for millions of years. The team then sequenced thousands of genes from the specimens and matched them up from extensive computational analysis involving the supercomputer at Brown, which the university installed in 2009. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:52 p.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The result was surprising. Monoplacophorans are a sister clade, the cephalopods which encompasses octopuses, squid and nautilus. Cephalopods are so different from all other mollusks. It was very difficult to understand what they are related to. They don't fit in the rest. Now we have a situation where two of the most enigmatic groups within the mollusk turn out to be sister groups. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:53 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In an interesting twist, paleontologists have described the monoplacophorine cephalopod relationship in the 1970s, resting their claim on evidence that the oldest cephalopods and fossilized monoplacophorines each had chambered shells. Modern-day monoplacophorines still carry shells, but no longer have chambers. When we came in this genome level data, we ended up resurrecting this old hypothesis from paleontology. The results from the genetic analysts show the paleontologists were right. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:55 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. By establishing the close evolutionary relationship between monoplacophorines and cephalopods, the researchers say they have squarely answered the question of a single origin for shell mollusk. An ancestor species is not known, but the group is confident that monoplacophorines and cephalopods share more in common, evolutionary speaking, with shelled mollusks than with the non-shelled groups Aplacophora and Polyplacophora. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. What we found is these worm-like mollusks, Aplacophora and chitons, Polyplacophora, are more closely related to each other, and they diverged prior to the origin of the shell. They are mollusks, but they formed this group that split off before shells came along. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:57 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. And all the team collected specimens for 15 species. Researchers at Brown University sequenced hundreds of thousands of gene sequence and compared those genetic sequences with what is known about the genetic makeup of other species throughout the mollusk tree. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 8:57 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. We are trying to understand how these species are related, their evolutionary relationships. We do this by analyzing conserved parts of their genomes and constructing an evolutionary tree. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Brain scans reveal drugs' effects on attention. Science Daily, October 14, 2011. Scientists have developed a way to evaluate new treatments for some forms of attention deficit disorder. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:07 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The study published last year, the same group found that raising dopamine levels in mice alleviates attention deficits caused by neurofibromatosis type 1, NF1, a condition that affects more than 100,000 people in the United States. Approximately 60% to 80% of children with NF1 have some type of attention deficit problem. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:08 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The results appear online in experimental neurology. Symptoms of NF1-related attention deficits are similar to those that affect children in the general population, but it is unclear whether the brain changes that underlie these problems in children with NF1 are similar to the brain changes that cause attention deficits in the general population. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:09 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. This mouse model may not be a perfect model for all forms of attention deficit, but it is a terrific model for one type of attention system dysfunction. Greater understanding of what goes wrong in some children with NF1 could lead to new insights into a broader variety of attention problems. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:10 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Mice had lower levels of dopamine in part of the brain following treatment with the drug Ritalin. Both the brain dopamine levels and the attention deficit in these mice were restored to normal. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:11 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Prior to our study, there was no molecular basis for using Ritalin to treat children with NF1 and attention deficit, so it is used dependent on the pediatrician's practice, the severity of the attention deficit, and how comfortable the parents were with use of medication. In general, only the most severely affected kids are being treated, but that may change in the future. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. A compound designed to block the recycling of dopamine was successful in restoring dopamine levels. In contrast, another drug currently in a clinical trial for learning problems in children with NF1 did not boost dopamine levels or correct the attention deficits. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Conducting similar tests in children using current PET technology involves significant radiation exposure. However, a new scanner now available at Washington University that combines PET and MRI will lower the radiation exposure, making it possible to consider this method for children with NF1N. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:14 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. At some point, we envision a pre-screening process that identifies children with reduced dopamine levels most likely to respond to Ritalin or other medications. As we learn more about the different ways attention deficits arise in these children, it may be possible to use the pre-screening data and preclinical drug tests in mouse models to select the best drug for each patient. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:20 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Building better HIV antibodies, biologists create neutralizing antibody that shows increased potency. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. Using highly potent antibodies isolated from HIV-positive people, researchers have recently begun to identify ways to broadly neutralize the many possible subtypes of HIV. Now, a team led by biologists at California Institute of Technology, Caltech, has built upon one of these naturally occurring antibodies to create a stronger version they believe is a better candidate for clinical applications. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:23 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Current advances in isolating antibodies from HIV-infected individuals have allowed for the discovery of a large number of new broadly neutralizing anti-HIV antibodies directed against the host receptor CD4 binding site, a functional site on the surface of the virus that allows for cell entry and infection using a technique known as structure-based rational design. The team modified one already known and particularly potent antibody, NIH4546, so that it can target the binding site in a different and more powerful way. A study outlining their process was published in the October 27 issue of Science Express. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. NIH4546 was already one of the most broad and potent of known anti-HIV antibodies. Our new antibody is now arguably the best of the currently available, broadly neutralizing anti-HIV antibodies. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:25 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. By conducting structural studies, the researchers were able to identify how NIH4546 interacted with GP120, a protein on the surface of the virus that required for the successful entry of HIV into cells. To neutralize the virus, using this information, they were able to create a new antibody dubbed NIH4546 G54W that is better able to grab onto and interfere with GP120. This improves the antibody's breadth or extent to which it effectively targets many subtypes of HIV and potency by an order of magnitude, according to the postdoctoral scholar, Lab Caltech, and the paper's lead author. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Not only did we design an improved version of NIH45-46, our structural data are calling into question previous assumptions about how to make a vaccine in order to elicit such antibodies. We hope that these observations will help to guide and improve future immunogen design. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. By improving the efficiency of antibodies that can neutralize HIV, the researchers point to the possibility of clinical testing for NIH45-46, Power G54W, and other antibodies as therapeutical agents. It is also plausible that understanding effective neutralization by powerful antibodies may be useful in vaccine development. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:28 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The results uncover the structural underpinnings of anti-HIV antibody breadth potency, offer a new view of neutralization by CD4 binding site anti-HIV antibodies, and establish principles that may enable the creation of a new group of HIV therapeutics. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:32 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Insects are scared to death of fish. Science Daily, October 27, 2011. The mere presence of a predator causes enough stress to kill a dragonfly, even when the predator cannot actually get at its prey to eat it, says biologist at University of Toronto. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:33 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. How prey respond to the fear of being eaten is an important topic in ecology, and we've learned a great deal about how these responses affect predator and prey interactions. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:34 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. As we learn more about how animals respond to stressful conditions, whether it is the presence of predators or stresses from other natural or human-caused disruptions. We increasingly find that stress brings a greater risk of death, presumably from things such as infections that normally wouldn't kill them. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:35 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. What we found was unexpected. More of the dragonflies died when predators shared their habitat. Exposed to predatory fish or aquatic insects had survival rates of 2.5 to 4.3 times less than those not exposed. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:36 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In the second experiment, 11% of larvae exposed to fish died as they attempted to metamorphosize into their adult stage, compared to only 2% of those growing in a fish-free environment. We allowed the juvenile dragonflies to go through metamorphosis to become adult dragonflies, and found those that had grown up around predators were more likely to fail to complete metamorphosis successfully, more often dying in the process. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick now. The scientists suggest that their findings could apply to all organisms facing any amount of stress, and that the experiment could be used as a model for future studies on the lethal effects of stress. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:18 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Synthesis time of macromolecules can be estimated from labeling experiments. When a radioactive precursor first enters a cell, it can only label the macromolecules that are in the process of being constructed. For example, if a radioactive amino acid is added to a culture, the nascent, unfinished, and still growing protein chains are the first proteins to be labeled. As time passes, an increasing number of completed chains contain a radioactive label. The time required to form a specific type of macromolecule can be estimated by sampling a labeled cell culture at very short intervals and comparing the amount of radioactivity in the nascent macromolecule, which are attached to their templates, with the amount of free completed macromolecules. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:19 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Experiments of this type with cultured HELA cells have shown that elongation of nascent protein chains occurs at a rate of about 10 amino acids per second. Thus, synthesis of a typical protein containing 600 or so amino acids takes about 1 minute. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:21 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Cultured cells have played an important role in the development of molecular cell biology. By far the most popular bacterium for research purposes is E. coli analyst. Of the many mutant E. coli strains available, has made this the best understood cell in the world of biology. The yeast species, S. cerevisiae, is the most frequent used single-cell eukaryote. Yeast genetics also has reached a very advanced state. Studies with bacteria, bacterioviruses, and yeast establish the basic principles of molecular biology. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:22 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Animal cells generally are more difficult to grow in vitro than bacterial cells. Culture of many animal cells requires complex media containing many nutrients and growth factors. Many animal cell types only grow when attached to the surface and cannot be cultured in suspension. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:24 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. A primary cell culture is derived from normal animal cells, which will not continue to grow indefinitely. Transformed cells, including tumor cells, will grow indefinitely. In culture, the term line refers to an indefinitely growing culture derived from a single transformed cell. Even relatively undifferentiated cell lines, HELA cells, have proved useful for many kinds of study. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:26 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. In addition, many cell lines exhibit characteristics of the differentiated cells from which they derive. Examples include hepatomas that synthesize many liver-specific proteins, and epithelial cells that form polarized monolayers. Specialized cells from bone marrow, liver, muscle, and other tissues often are isolated and used directly when they cannot be successfully cultured. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:27 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Hybrid cells produced by fusion of cell lines from one species with cells from another can be used to map genes to specific chromosomes. Fusion of normal primary antibody-producing B lymphocytes with cultured lines of melanoma cells produces hybrid cells called hybridomas that are immortal. Each hybridoma produces a single monoclonal antibody. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:28 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Viruses have been used to investigate many aspects of cell structure and function. These small parasites, which reproduce only within a host cell, consist of a single genome containing from a few to 200 genes at most, enclosed within the protein coat. The capsid some viruses have an outer envelope, which is partly derived from the host cell plasma membrane. And good morning, this is Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Viruses are a source of small, reproducible gene sequence. These, as well as viral mRNA and proteins, are easily purified. Viruses exhibit two types of growth cycles: the lytic cycle, which involves production of new viral particles and leads to death of the host cell, and the lysogenic cycle, in which the viral DNA is integrated into the host cell genome and replicated as the cell grows and divides. An understanding of the basic properties of viruses and familiarity with the experimental uses of different types of virus are indispensable to the cell biologist of today. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:32 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Several radioactive isotopes, e.g. 3H14C and 32P, are used to label biologically important molecules such as amino acids and nucleosides. These tracers are widely used in both cell-free and whole cell systems to investigate various metabolic processes. Audio radiography provides a visual, semi-quantitative measure of incorporation of a tracer into a cellular macromolecule, isolation of labeled macromolecule, and measurement of their radioactivity, and the counter provides a quantitative measure of incorporation. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:33 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. Important considerations in the use of radioisotopes include the specific activity of the labeled precursor, the energy of the particles emitted during radioactive decay, speed at which different labeled precursor enters cells, and the extent of the rate of exchange between small precursor molecules in the cell and in the medium. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:34 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. For example, titrated 3H compounds give the best autoradiographic images because the low energy beta particles they emit produce better defined images on a photographic emulsion than do high energy particles emitted by other radioisotopes. Compounds labeled with phosphorus 32 can be analyzed with great sensitivity because this radioisotope has relatively short half-life and emits high energy beta particles, which are detected efficiently. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:41 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. An object is just a specific kind of data with a collection of properties and methods. A person is an object. Properties are the values associated with the object. The person's properties include name, height, weight, age, skin tone, eye color, etc. All persons have these properties, but the values of those properties will differ from person to person. Objects also have methods. Methods are the actions that can be performed on objects. The person's methods could be eat, sleep, work, play, etc. The syntax for accessing a property of an object is for the JavaScript Advanced Learning. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. This is Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:44 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. What is JavaScript? JavaScript was designed to add interactivity to HTML pages. JavaScript is a scripting language. JavaScript language is a lightweight programming language. JavaScript is usually embedded directly into HTML pages. JavaScript is an interpreted language, means that scripts execute without preliminary compilation. Everyone can use JavaScript without purchasing a license. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. What is a break loop? The break statement. The break statement will break the loop and continue executing the code that follows after the loop, if any. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It is Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. The JavaScript switch statement. Use the switch statement to select one of many blocks of code to be executed. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. It's Friday, October 28, 2011, 10:46 a.m. Eastern Time. Quick note. JavaScript comments. Comments can be added to explain a JavaScript or to make the code more readable. Single-line comments start with 2 forward slashes. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. We can measure many quantities such as volume, pressure, speed, and force, which are combinations of 2 or more fundamental quantities. However, no one has ever encountered a measurement that cannot be expressed in terms of length, mass, time, current, temperature, luminous intensity, or amount of substance. Combinations of these quantities are referred to as derived quantities, and they are measured in derived units. Several common derived units are listed. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Some physical quantities such as force, velocity have direction as well as magnitude. In such cases they are called vector quantities. The direction must be part of any calculations involving such quantities. A vector quantity is completely specified by a magnitude. The direction then consists of a number, unit direction. Examples: displacement 20 mn, a velocity of 40 mi divided by h, 30 degrees n of wn. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. The direction of a vector may be given by reference in conventional north, east, west, and south directions. Consider, for example, the vector 20m, wm 40, m at 30 degrees north of east. As shown, the expression northeast indicates that the angle is formed by rotating a line northward from the easterly direction. Another method of specifying direction, which will be particularly useful later on, is to make reference to perpendicular lines called axes. These imaginary lines are useful chosen to be horizontal or vertical, but they may be orientated along other directions as long as the two lines remain perpendicular. An imaginary horizontal line is usually called the x-axis. An imaginary vertical line is called the y-axis. Directions are given by angles measured counterclockwise from the positive x-axis. The vector 40m at 60 degrees and 50m at 210 degrees are shown. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Remember that in performing vector additions, both the magnitude and direction of the displacements must be considered. The additions are geometric instead of algebraic. It is possible for the magnitude of a vector sum to be less than the magnitude of either of the component displacements. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Note that the magnitude r of a vector is always positive. A negative sign before the symbol of a vector merely reverses its direction, i.e., it interchanges the arrow tip without affecting the length. If a equals 20me, then minus a would be 20mw. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. When two or more forces act at the same point on an object, they are said to be concurrent forces. The combined effect of such forces is called the resultant force. The resultant force is that single force which will produce the same effect in both magnitude and direction as two or more concurrent forces. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Resultant forces may be calculated graphically by representing each concurrent force as a vector. The polygon or parallelogram method of vector addition will then give the resultant force. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Often forces act in the same line either together or in opposite to each other. If two forces act on a single object in the same direction, the resultant force is equal to the sum of the magnitudes of the forces. The direction of the resultant would be the same as that of either force. Consider, for example, 15n force and 20n force acting in the same easterly direction. Their resultant 35ne in demonstration. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. If the same two forces act in opposite directions, the magnitude of the resultant force is equal to the difference of the magnitudes of the two forces, and it acts in the direction of the larger force. Suppose 15n force in our example were changed so that it pulled to the west, as seen. Resultant would be 5ne. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. If forces act at an angle between 0 and 180 degrees to each other, their resultant is the vector sum. The polygon and method, or the parallelogram method of vector addition, may be used to find the resultant force. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Graphical treatments of vectors are good for visualizing forces, but they are usually not very accurate. A much more useful approach is to take advantage of simple right triangle trigonometry, and today's calculators have simplified the process considerably. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Trigonometric methods can improve your accuracy and speed in determining the resultant vector or in finding the components of a vector. In most cases, it is helpful to use imaginary x and y axis when working with vectors in any analytical way. Any vector can then be drawn with its tail at the center of these imaginary lines. Components of the vector might be seen as effects along the x or y axis. And good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. Often a body is acted on by a number of forces having different magnitudes, directions, and points of application. Forces which intersect at a common point or have the same point of application are said to be concurrent forces. When such forces are not at right angles with each other, calculating the resultant can be more difficult. The vectors would not fall along either the x or y axis in all cases. The component method of addition of vectors is needed for these more general cases. N. Good morning, it's Dr. Will, CBMD, PhD. Quick note. When we study relative velocity acceleration and certain other quantities, we must be able to find the difference of two vector quantities. The difference between two vectors is obtained by adding one vector to the negative of the other. The negative of a vector is found by constructing a vector equal in magnitude but opposite direction. N.